Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Wandance, Season 1, Episode 8. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So, Cabo is very excited for the music club, dance club, because I believe this is, the way it was kind of framed, like this is the first club meeting activity they've had since the contest. But the moment he goes in, it's literally smack dab in the middle of a dance battle between Meow and Iori. And the question is like, why did this start? And everyone's like, I don't know. Like, literally, it's like, yeah, we just showed up at the club and they were already like doing this. We don't know how long they're gonna go, why this started. In fact, they ultimately ended up dancing for like an hour. And I love that while they're doing this, you have different people theorizing the reasons behind it. Some people are like, oh, maybe this is to get Iori to stop doing dance battles. This is to draw him back into the club, which that would be my initial thought, because it's like Meow has done everything she can to try and intrigue Iori to kind of bring him back to the club. But I love one of the girls is kind of like, oh, but what if it's like if he wins, he gets to date her type of thing, because apparently last year there were like rumors about like almost kind of like, insinuating like there was going to be something there. Because I'm curious like how far back Meow and Iori's history goes, because I mean, at the very least, it goes back at least until last year's. But I don't know if they have a prior connection coming to high school, because like she's a third year, but he's a second year. So I don't know if there was something in that regard. It's interesting because like my immediate thought was like, well, she probably will be a potential successor, not unless they kind of like hand it off. And that was kind of a theory I had, was like a two-hander, because I was thinking like, oh, is Wanda going to end up being Meow's successor? And I guess in some capacity she is, but it's more so Iori. Makes sense. He's second year. The moment, like, because Wanda and Cabo are both first years, so once they become second years, they're in line. But I definitely feel like the story could and probably would go in the direction of, hey, let's kind of elevate these two together. I'm also curious, like, having never read the manga, I'm curious, does the entire series take place in high school, especially because that conversation last episode about most people kind of like once they graduate, they kind of leave dancing behind. It's just kind of like, oh, it's this fun thing. Like, it's not a lot of people that continue that into their lives, you know? So I'm curious if that's kind of like something we'll see where it's like post graduation, or is the entire story, or at least what of the story that currently exists in the manga, is it all high school related? Because like I said, they're only first years now, so I don't know. I'm curious about that. Either way, I'm going on a massive tangent, but my point before I went into diatribe is I could definitely see it being a Wanda and Cabo double lead to the club, but it might just be like it might not be that. It's like one will be the president of the club and one will be the vice president. It'll probably be like two-hander like that most likely. But either way, I'm going on a tangent. But either way, it's a really dope battle between the two of them. Cabo's got 5 years experience, whereas Meow has got 10. Really quickly, kind of staying in that vein, but I wanted to circle back to something I did forget to finish up. Was like, once again, that girl had put out the theory, but most people were like, the two people that were nearby were like, there's no way that's true. Because even Cabo's like, nah, Meow's not the type of person who would kind of make this about something personal like that. Like, this is for a reason. Because it's like, it's also meant to be a teaching lesson, because like it is something, it's a part of the dance world that she hasn't really had an opportunity to showcase to them. So it's like, yeah, and everyone's captivated because it's like the back and forth, it's just, oh, Iori's so good, but Meow's so good, because this is also where Meow gets to show off what she's really good at. The fact is that popping is like her forte. Like, she does hip-hop dancing with it, it's kind of like, I think that's kind of a nice introduction for people, but like she's been popping a lot longer. Now, I think that's supposed to be kind of her signature thing. Like, that's her signature genre. Just like for Iori, house is his thing. So, but popping is hers, and she does such a great job at it. Even other people are like, "Yo, how is she able to do that with her body?" I think that is very special in the regards of like, you can kind of do it. I think a lot of like with enough practice, anyone can do it. But it's like to make it look so effortless and just kind of the being able to kind of just like pop your body and lock it like that. It's so cool, especially when you just see it like done like so fluidly and just so like boom, 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 boom. But yeah, it's like the back and forth, and Cabo's kind of swept up in it all too, and he's thinking like it's almost a thing of it doesn't matter who's winning or losing. It's just about like these are two high level dancers, kind of like basically inspiring each other and pushing each other further. It's like the back and forth of just kind of like, oh, you do something, I'm gonna do something too, and this, and this. It's pretty impressive through and through. And obviously, when it comes down to the final bit of the dancing, it's just kind of like, all right, who won after an hour? And ultimately, they have to decide. And Cabo's trying to decide, like, well, who is he going to vote for? And so for him, it's like, well, they're both good. And there's a part of him that's like, well, it's the only guy I kind of want to vote for Iori. But then he started kind of getting embarrassed of like, but then people see how I voted. Like, once again, Cabo's very self-conscious. He gets in his own head about it. But then he starts thinking about it. And then he kind of goes, oh, and he just thinks about it. And he just goes with his guts like, no, like I think Meow won. But then he notices that like everyone's clapping. And then like when it comes to Iori, everyone's clapping as well. But then he notices like, oh, but Wanda's the only one. In fact, me and Wanda are the only ones that actually picked a winner because no one else could really decide because they didn't really know how. But like he voted for Meow and didn't clap for Iori, whereas Wanda was on the other side. She voted for Iori and didn't clap for Meow. So it's like, wow, we're the only ones that kind of ended up like actually like making a choice in the situation because I mean, I don't think that's necessarily an indictment against everyone else, but it is kind of, I think in Cabo's mind, it's like, oh, that is interesting. Because most people didn't know how to really select a winner, didn't really know how. And so, Iori kind of tells eventually, like, when he's, like, sitting down, because he's like, yeah, he knew what the end result was going to be. And so he goes to sit down, and the others are like, so what was this all about? He's like, well, one, kind of no more dance battles. Two, I'm forced to come back to the club, and three, that basically I'm going to be successor to the club, next year, like, when Meow, like, graduates. And I love the girls are like, oh man, we were, I think it's, I want to say it's Aoi and Yura are kind of like, wow, we were actually dead on about that. And then, Iori thinks to himself, and that means I don't get to date Meow. And I'm like, oh, so that other girl was 100% right. So literally every theory everyone had was right, so that's funny. Because I'm sure that was Iori putting that in there. I'm sure every other condition was Meow's, and I'm sure that one in particular was like, after it was all laid out, I'm sure Iori threw that in the end there. So he's probably like, once again, the Iori and Meow relationship is meant to be paralleled with the Wanda and Cabo, but I think the dynamic's a little different, especially considering Cabo and Wanda are both the same year versus Meow being a third year and Iori being a second year. But either way, it's kind of like, all right, who's going to be the one that ends up beating her? And so it ends up being Cabo next. And they're like, oh, is he really going to do this? And for him, like, as someone who's always kind of like has such self-doubt, for him, it's kind of nice for him. He's like, oh, it's like all eyes on me. He's like, for the first time, it feels like I'm the main character in a story. And he's like, it's kind of nice to kind of feel like being in a spotlight, because I think he's always been a side character in his own life because of his personality and his bashfulness, and he just kind of let a lot of his self-esteem issues kind of hold him back. And now it's just like, right, I'm a cut loose. And he does his thing, because initially it's like a nice song with like female vocals, and Meow does her thing, and then Cabo's like kind of like entranced by the fact is he feels like eventually he's like, it feels like we're dancing as equals. It's like you're kind of drawing me in, and even he says like, I want to see that look on your face, like you're kind of almost like I want to see like you smile, kind of being like you're proud of me that I'm doing a good job. And he does it, But especially with the second song in particular, where the beat's kind of like, I don't know if erratic is the right word, but it's kind of a very weird beat. But because Cabo talks about it a little during both sections of his, was kind of like him and Iori like watched a whole bunch of battles together and stuff like that. So he's been ready for this moment. It was just kind of like to shine, because for him it's like, it's not even about, I don't care if anyone else applauds me in this moment. All I want is, Meow's attention and approval. Like that's the only approval he needs or wants in this moment, and he kind of got that, and he got it partway through the battle and stuff like that. But I especially love the second part where like Cabo like did kind of a slide. He almost bumps into someone. I was like, oh, but then he kind of slides right and does his thing right back into it. It's really dope. Put his all into it. And ultimately, it seems like it's a split with the class on who won, but ultimately it's Meow's win. But everyone's still impressed with what Cabo was able to do. It's like, bro, it's like this is next level for him, because people are like, yo, is that really Cabo? Like he's only been dancing for like 3 months. Because even I think Iori's like word of advice to him is like the only way you're gonna win this is you have to like prove that you love dancing more than she does. Like that's the only way you're gonna win. And he also was looking forward to Cabo like getting like a solo dance moment, and he did like during the second round of it. So, but ultimately, Meow says they are going to start entering dance battles, because I think this was kind of like probably was always going to be like the end result. That's also like she wanted to introduce them to all of this. Seem like let me show you guys what this is high level, and then we're going to start working on it and probably trickling down to like, I guess like it's interesting because I guess you almost look at like the contest, like the Meow of it all. It's like Wanda kind of shines as a star, and maybe when it comes to the battling, it's going to be Cabo who kind of shines as a star. Like I said, that the two-hander that this club kind of has when it comes to both of them, I think is going to be how that dynamic plays out going forward. But I think that's interesting. But I also love the Wanda moment where she's just like, "Did you see me?" And at first I was like, oh, is it because she cheered for him? But even Cabo's like, oh yeah, like I didn't even think to look like who Wanda voted for. And then we cut back to it and everyone's like, whoa, it's a few people notice Wanda. And they're like, is Wanda crying? It's like, yeah, she is. She was so captivated in that moment. I think it's because she was like so proud of Cabo and just kind of so blown away, because I think that was a moment when she got to really see him. Because, you know, even when the battle was about to go into its like first round, he remembered her words where she's like, I think it was her. I'm pretty sure it was her, but maybe it was Meow, but I'm pretty sure it was Wanda, about like he'll be able to make a dance his own. And I think for her in that moment, it's just kind of like, you made this your own, and she was so proud of him, and it was so beautiful just to see, especially considering like what dance means to him. And I think we learned last episode why dance is so important to Wanda, and obviously like how she wants to connect with her dad, who can't, won't be able to hear the music, but basically can feel that music through the visuals and the movement. And it's just like, once again, I draw the parallel too about like, Cabo and his stuttering, and now I think that's where like it all kind of culminates, where Wanda's just kind of like, this represents everything on why I love dance and why I want to be the best, and kind of seeing Cabo like express himself in that regard. I think that's what, and just like she was kind of like pouting a little bit and her blushing a little when it's like he like, oh, so you didn't notice, and kind of like, oh, I'm glad you didn't notice, but I'm also kind of upset you didn't. Once again, whether that's really like her reaction to it or whether that's like a tick or whatever, but the fact is that for her, it's like her takeaway from it was just kind of like seeing how much he's grown. It just makes her so excited for the future that they like, it's like, I'm gonna go with you all the way, essentially. Like we can stand side by side to kind of go even further, because I think like she could probably tell like his self-confidence was always kind of holding him back, and in that moment like he believed in himself and was in love with all of this, that it just kind of feels like, I think now they're kind of on equal footing of like, we both love this so much and we're both captivated by it, that it's just kind of like, who knows where we can go from here, but we can kind of go further together. And I think that's kind of a beautiful sentiment and not resolution, but just kind of like point of, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if moral, but takeaway is probably more the word I'm looking for. An element I did skip over in this episode was we got introduced to a new character. Was it Kabe? And him working at that convenience store or whatever, which I love. That lady's going full Karen and yelling at him about like, oh, you need to apologize. She's like, I know the manager, and I think that's the manager over there, the guy that's in the background shaking his head, waving his head, almost like no. So I don't know if that's like a, hey, I'm too embarrassed to admit that I know you, so actually I pretend like I don't know you, or or whether that is just straight up a bold-faced lie if you actually don't know the manager. But Kabe does apologize. She's like, oh, you are being apologetic, but you need to do it again because I didn't feel your sincerity. Because even though he's wearing a mask, like, I guess just looking at his eyes is kind of like, nah, I didn't feel the sincerity there. But either way, some dancers end up getting the video from Iori from the contest. They were like, yo, like, this Iori wanted us to see this person. It's a really good dancer. And they're like, oh, is it that person's like, no, that's Meow. She's the head of the club. Obviously she's top of the top, but obviously, like, dance battles might not really be her thing. And then it's like, oh, what about Wanda? It's like, yeah, she's pretty unique. But Kabe immediately got drawn to Cabo, and it's like, ooh, I want to battle that guy because I want to see what someone that talented is capable of. Which obviously, Cabo would never think of himself as talented, but hearing that, once again, I think he might be over that hump of, like, not getting so bummed out when he's not chosen or recognized. I think this episode in particular last episode, but also this episode, I think, helped him get over that hump. So I don't think he's going to get too conceited, but it's like, yeah, just the passion and love for dancing and just being able to kind of go into a battle. So with their school going into a battle competition, I'm assuming Kabe is going to end up, I guess that one-on-one with Cabo is probably going to end up happening during those battles, but we'll see how it all plays out going forward. I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.